to speak?
Yes, Troy.
Second to. Mr. President, critical information concerning the next item on the agenda has come to my attention, and I think this information should be presented before the board. What you're holding, that's a signed list of signatures signed by all the current contractor drivers that have chosen not to accept the proposed contract to be considered here tonight. I would like to make a motion. I make a motion to do away with the proposed contract being considered here tonight. I also propose the school district offer the current transportation contractors the option to individually opt out of the purchase agreement between them and the school district signed in February, allowing the school district's transportation system to return to the previous operations with modifications to be negotiated between the school board and the contractors with attorney approval.
Who's the spokesman for the Route Owner Association?
I am.
Did you understand Mr. Treadway's motion?
Yes.
And are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Okay. Then do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think there's something on that statement that needs to change. You've called it a settlement. I think we need to use the language of the attorney. It's a settlement agreement.
Read that part again, Troy, because I didn't catch that.
Where a purchase agreement is,
Yeah.
It's called settlement agreement, settlement agreement, settlement agreement.
I think the language just needs to stay parallel.
Can we read the whole thing again?
Please.
I make a motion to do away with the proposed contract being considered here tonight. I also propose the school district offer the current transportation contractors the option to individually opt out of the settlement agreement between them and the school district signed in February, allowing the school district's transportation system to return to previous operations with modifications to be negotiated between the school board and the contractors with attorney approval.
I would make a recommendation that that's two separate motions. The settlement agreement, because it was voted on in closed session, I think needs to remain a legal agreement. It's bound, it's past the 21 days agreement, so it would become legal. So I think that needs to be done in closed session. But to not approve the contract, I think that's just my recommendation to the board based on legal advice. The settlement agreement was all done in closed session. And it's illegal.
I would just echo that, just because it was done legal, we through legal advice from our attorneys. It was always a legal deal. I feel like we're taking it, throwing it into, and that's not, the same thing can be done in closed session, there's no question. But since it is a legal issue, the second thing that I would just say to that is when we did that agreement, we did it because it was our understanding that the association wanted to do it as a whole. They had to accept it as a whole. All drivers had to accept the whole thing as one whole association. So then to turn around, I think, I'm not speaking against it, but what I'm saying, I think that would necessitate some discussion, to turn around and then say, okay, we're going to break it down individually when, according to their stipulations to begin with, it had to be done as an entire group. I think that would be something that we would have to seek legal counsel on before we did.
Part of the wording of the separation or settlement agreement is that it's a whole organization.
It's done as an entire organization.
Understood that.
Yeah.
So
I
what
think we need
is,
to break this.
what is the first?
Well, if we don't accept the contract, that's fine.
Okay.
That's
So we will need, what's it called? No. Will you pull your second, your motion? Rescission. Do you want to rescind your second?
I'll rescind it.
And Troy, would you rescind your motion
Yes.
at this time? Okay. Then I've never done this before. I've never had to rescind one before. Yeah, I didn't think so. So that the mover and the seconder have rescinded those motions her advice to go take that to closed. And so now we go ahead with the wording of the contract.
That's
Okay?
You ready? I make a motion to do away with the proposed contract being considered here tonight.
I'll second.
And second by Mrs. Aborn. Okay, further discussion?
you can vote on that. Choose those as a generic contract.
Individuals.
It doesn't have Larry's name on it, anybody's name on it. Okay. Discussion, anyone? Okay. All in favor of Mr. Treadway's motion? 2, 3, 4. Opposed? And it carried 4-3.
So the next part was tied to that contract, so we can reject all RFQs
Okay.
because they were tied to the language of that contract.
How do we do that? Just
We just reject or need to all RFQs.
so do we have to have a motion to reject? Okay. Dr. Lauer just said that the next item G is to award the RFQs for the contracted transportation of public school children, and that is tied directly to this contract, so we're going to have to reject that award, so we will need a motion to do so.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Aborn, second. What are we doing?
We're rejecting all the RFQs that were submitted
The
because they're all
next-
submitted for a 5-year contract.
The next item on the agenda. So, okay, seconded by Mr. Treadway. All right. All, further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried 7-0.
And
Okay.
you'll need to make your recommendation that the board.
So we need a motion to, you say it.
I will need direction from the board. I don't know if we need a motion, but everybody needs to understand that I'll be composing a letter to everybody that submitted an RFQ and letting them know that the board's decision of the existing contract that we were referencing has been voted, hasn't been approved, so that process is voided.
I think that needs to be a motion.
Okay.
So do I have a motion with what Dr. Muller had to say here?
To receive that, please.
That the board needs to make the motion that a board, I don't make a motion, if somebody will make a motion that the board communicates with everyone that submitted an RFQ that the contract reference has not been approved, therefore all submitted RFQs are rejected.
Would somebody like to entertain that as a motion? Who said that? Mr. Strong. Okay, second by Mr. Treadway. All right, all in favor? And that carried 7-0.